All right, welcome back to the exciting book of 2Samuel. And we are in the last chapter, which is chapter 24. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. And they said it couldn't be done. We'll never finish. You know, well, we went through another one. Hallelujah. All right, so 2 Samuel 24 now. If you reflect upon, 2 Samuel as a whole, many of the stories, actually spoke to the end time prophecies. And chapter 24 is no different. And I was just thinking about that, and I'm like, wow, yeah, so many of your, so much of your word actually, speaks to the end times, and it's truly that, it's true that, he told the end from the beginning. He truly did. He told the end from the beginning, and it's so amazing how you could be reading about something and it had a historical aspect and even have a present aspect and even a future aspect to it. Only Yah's word. That's the only thing that I know that's like that. The word of Elohim. Even Yahushua is depicted as the word of Elohim, and he says that he's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And you think about that, and you're like, man, this word, yes, it's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. It's applicable for yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And wow, he really opened my eyes to some stuff. And I was just reflecting on that, and I'm like, wow, he shows us so many pictures of different incidents that is depicted in the book of Revelations. By the time we get to the book of Revelations, we're gonna already went through it. We're gonna already be able to see the picture. And I'm like, wow, Yah knows what he's doing. How about that? So that being said, let's jump in. Let me have my first reader read 2 Samuel 24, 1 through 3, please.
And again the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against Israel, and he moved David against them to say, Go, number Israel and Judah. For the king said to Job, the captain of the host, which was with him, Go now through all the tribes of Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, and number ye the people, that I may know the number of the people. And Joab said unto the king, Now Yahuwah thy Elohim add unto the people, how many soever they be, 100-fold, and that the eyes of my lord the king may see it. But why doeth my lord the king delight in this thing? Did you want the last one?
No, that's good. Thank you. Hallelujah. All right, so here it is. We see in 2 Samuel 24, 1, it says, And the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against Israel. Okay, Israel messed up again. Yah was upset with him, and it said, And he moved David against them to say, Go number Israel and Yahudah. Now, this is interesting because elsewhere, in the book of Chronicles, and just for FYI, 2 Kings and 1 Kings were all considered the book of Kings originally. But the book of Kings, and if you haven't noticed, if you haven't never read it, but the book of Kings and Chronicles, actually have many of the same stories, except for the book of Kings, generally speaking, tend to speak to the natural aspect of things, where Chronicles speaks to the spiritual aspect of things. So it's good to know that, when you're going through them. Okay, so I just say that because this same account is elsewhere in 1 Chronicles, and it's actually in 1 Chronicles chapter 21. And seemingly it's a contradiction, see, but when you understand that Yah changeth not, and he's the same yesterday, today, and forever, then you begin to understand a little more fully. So here we're told that the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against Israel, and he moved David against them to say, Go number Israel and Yahudah. But when we look at 1 Chronicles 21:1, it says, Satan, Hasatan, stood up against Israel and provoked David to number Israel. And so, first off, this may seem like a contradiction, but it really isn't. Because, whenever Yah gets upset with us, it opens the door, he takes his covering from us, and it opens the door for the enemy to come in. And so this is what happened. And once you understand the picture, the overall picture that's being painted, in this chapter, which is of the end times, you also understand that, what's about to transpire, is, and what will transpire in the end times is orchestrated by Yah, but he uses Hasatan as a pawn.
Exactly.
He uses him as a pawn, in his overall plan and scheme of things. And that's important to understand. Otherwise, you get caught up like some foolish people and start blaming Yah and, and being mad at him. Well, that's not going to get you anywhere fast, So we don't want to do that, right?
Right.
Okay, so verse 2 said that he wanted to number them from Dan to Beersheba. Dan means judge, and so that speaks to government. And Beersheba means well of the oath. So that speaks of those who are under an oath, specifically to Yah, because we're talking about Yah's people, amen? So when we're talking about from Dan to Beersheba, it's a spiritual picture of from the government all the way to the every individual that has covenanted with Yah, taken an oath, to serve Yah, right? Okay, so of course this is all of Israel, and Israel, Yisrael, man who wrestles with good and evil and overcomes evil by holding on to El, or that which is good, amen?
Hallelujah.
Okay, so here it is. We have Yah allowing Satan to provoke David to number Israel. And so it says that he told Joab to orchestrate this, and Joab's response was, now, Yahuwah thy Elohim add unto thy people, how many soever there be 100-fold, and that the eyes of my Adonai, or my king, may see it. But why do my Lord the king delight in this thing? Why do you want to do this? And 1 Chronicles 21:3, it gives us another depiction or some more details, if you would, to what Joab said during that time. And it says, and Joab answered Yahuwah, make his people 100 times so many more as they, but my Lord the king, are they not all my Lord's servants? And why then do my Lord require this thing? He was really pushing this. He says, why will he be a cause of trespass to Israel? See, Joab knew, he understood that this thing was wrong, that this would be a trespass against Yahuwah, that he shouldn't number the people. And see, but those of us now today, we look at this thing and we may get discombobulated. We may not see, what's the harm in numbering the people? They do that all the time here every 4 years, right? They take a census, which is a what? Numbering the people. And so, but you have to understand, his ways is not like man's ways.
Right.
And so when we look in Torah, we find in Exodus 30, 11 through 14, it says, and Yahuwah spake unto Moshe, saying, and when thou takest the sum of the children of Israel after their number, when shall they give every man a ransom for his soul? Wow. When thou takest the sum of the children of Israel after their number, then shall they give every man a ransom for his soul unto Yahuwah, when thou numberest them. Why? That there be no plague among them when thou numberest them. This they shall give everyone that passeth among them that are numbered, half a shekel after the shekel of the sanctuary. And then it gives us this little notation that I love these little notations. It gives us this little notation. A shekel is 20 gerahs. Like we know what a gerah is. We didn't know what the shekel was. It explained it, but now we don't know what a gerah is. It says, and half shekel shall be the offering of Yahuwah. Everyone that passeth among them that are numbered from 20 years old and above shall give an offering unto Yahuwah. So again, this is another passage that yet speaks to 20 years old being the age of accountability.
Yes, yes.
Hallelujah. So all of those that are under 20 years old, you still accountable. Your parents are still accountable for you. Hello? Hello? Somebody? Hello? Okay. I know y'all think y'all grown when y'all pass 18, but, you know, according to Yah, you know, it's 20 years old.
Yeah.
All right. Enough of that. All right. So here it is. It says, and half shekel shall be the offering of Yahuwah. So if you're going to number the people, then you have to take a half shekel from everyone in order to keep the plague up off of them. Amen? You know, it goes, okay, so half shekel. Let's define that. So half comes from the Hebrew word makatsith, number 4276, and it means to cut or split in two. Okay, so here it is. We're defining this so that we can see the spiritual picture entailed therein. Amen?
Amen.
Okay, so now we see something that's cut or split in two, right? Okay, now it says a half, that's a half. Now a shekel. Shekel is shekel in the Hebrew, number 8255, and it speaks to a weight. It speaks to something that's weighed, to suspend or poise, as you would in a balance, you know, in a scale, you know, balancing a scale, you know, to weigh. It means to weigh, to pay, or receive. You know, okay, so now Yah is saying that when you numbers the people, everyone has to pay. You know, they have to pay a half shekel. That is, you know, they need to be, you know, something need to be cut or split, you know, and weighed so that he can receive his payment. All right? Okay, now, remember the little explanation, you know, that it gave us as to what a shekel was. And it says a shekel is 20 gerahs. Okay? So, what does the number 20 speak to? The number 20 speaks to the redeemed. Okay, so now let's take a look at this again. So we have a spiritual picture of something that's taken, that's being cut and weighed to pay Yah, you know, for atonement, you know, or for redemption, if you would. Okay, so and we have 20 speaking, which is the number, scriptural numerics speak to those who are redeemed. Okay, and now gerahs number 1626 speaks to a kernel. It's from Gerar, and this just blew my wig back right here. It's number 1641, and it meant to drag off roughly. Yeah, that's supposed to be off, not up. But it meant to drag off roughly. So here it is. We're talking about a gerah. 20 gerahs, you know, speaks to a shekel. Now we're talking about, here it is. We're talking about something that's been cut and weighed to pay Yah for our atonement. You know, and it's the same as those that are redeemed, you know, those redeemed kernels that's dragged off roughly. And so now you're starting to see a spiritual picture here, you know, of these kernels that was dragged off roughly. And now, you know, to the ancient mind, you know, maybe this didn't make sense. But those of us with the Brit Hadashah, you know, and understand what Yahushua has taught us in the Brit Hadashah, it makes perfect sense. See, because the Brit Hadashah of the New Testament, Yahshua speaks of a harvest time that's yet to come. A spiritual harvest time that's yet to come. You know, a time, it speaks of a time when something will be weighed and something will have to be paid. And it speaks of a time when those kernels will be dragged off roughly. You know, the Brit Hadashah teaches us that a kernel of wheat is likened unto the children of Elohim, because the parable of the wheat and the tares tells us that the wheat are the children of Elohim, the children of the kingdom. Amen? Yeah. So here it is, we see a spiritual picture of the children of the kingdom. They are like wheat. And so we're talking about a kernel that's dragged off roughly, and it makes perfect sense. I'm going to try to bring it all together for you. Okay, now, let's go to Revelation. So in Revelation 6, it speaks to this harvest time, this spiritual harvest time, and it speaks to a weighing. Now, do you think this is just coincidence that it just so happens to speak of something being weighed in the end times? No, it's not just coincidence. Revelation 6:5-6, it says, and when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And behold, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hands. Yeah. So now here it is, we have someone with a pair of balances. That's what you use to weigh things. Yeah. In order to weigh things, you have to cut from the bunch to put it on the scale to weigh. And this is what's going to be the payment for the redeemed. That will be as those wheat kernels, the children of the kingdom, that are dragged off roughly. Okay? But anyway, so that's verse 5. Verse 6 goes on to say, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Now, a measure speaks to, this word measure here speaks to a man-sized portion. And a penny actually, this word in the Greek is denarion, and it actually speaks to 10 buttocks. Yeah. 10 buttocks. Yeah. Or behinds, And we know that the buttocks or the behind is symbolic of what? The churches. Okay, I'm glad y'all with me. Yeah, so here it is. There's a whole lot of symbolism in here. And so here it is, you have, a measure of wheat for a penny and 3 measures of barley for a penny. So which one is the most expensive? Wheat. It took y'all way too long to get that. A measure of wheat for a penny, 3 measures of barley for a penny. It takes, you can get triple the amount of barley for the same price that you can only get a single amount of wheat. And the reason being is because this harvest time is the wheat harvest. Whenever you're going through scriptures, and whenever you see anything concerning the wheat harvest, it speaks to the harvest time of the end. It speaks to the last days. Whenever you see something that speaks to the barley harvest, it speaks to the time pre-Yahshua. So wheat harvest is post-Yahshua, and barley harvest is pre-Yahshua. Okay? Now, so that's why, the barley is cheaper. And so the barley speaks to pre-Yahshua, and it speaks to physical Yisrael. But the wheat harvest speaks to the children of the kingdom. Post-Yahshua. See, because the kingdom didn't come, the kingdom of Elohim didn't come until Yahshua came, right? Okay, so post-Yahshua is the only time when you can get wheat. The Messiah likened himself to a grain of wheat. He said, unless a grain of wheat fall into the earth, it can't bring a harvest. Paraphrasing, of course. But yeah, so now, and he said the children of the kingdom were likened unto wheat. So a measure of wheat for a penny speaks to those children of the kingdom. That will be those kernels that's dragged off roughly. Why? Because they are the redeemed, and they are the redeemed of Yah, and they are the payment for the numbering of the people that's going to take place in that time. Now, also take note, verse 6 says, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Okay, we're going to put that on the shelf for now. We'll come back to that. Don't let me forget. We're going to put that on the shelf. All right, so let me have my next reader read 2 Samuel 24, 4-7, please.
Notwithstanding, the king's word prevailed against Joab and against the captains of the host. And Joab and the captains of the host went out from the presence of the king to number the people of Israel. And they passed over Jordan and pitched in Aroi on the right side of the city that lieth in the midst of the river of Gad, and toward Yazar. Then they came to Gilead, and to the land of to Timhoshi, and they came to Danjan, and about to Sidon, and came to the stronghold of Tyre, and to all the cities of the Hivites and the Canaanites, and they went out to the south of Judah, even to Beersheba.
Okay, so here it is an account of them numbering the people, and it says, notwithstanding, even though Joab and the elders, they tried to, speak against, this thing being done. It says, notwithstanding, the king's word prevailed over Joab and against the captains of the host. Okay, and Joab and the captains of the host, they went out from the presence of the king to number the people of Israel. So they had to do what they were told because the king said it. And you don't want to oppose the king because, off with your head, right? So they did what they was told. And it said, and they passed over Jordan. Jordan speaks to a descender. And now when you look at this, you won't be able to see it. You don't have to take my word for it, but or look it up later. But they started in the east and they actually went north. They went north and then west and then came around to the south. In numbering other people, and that's revelatory in and of itself because the north side is usually the darkest side. Because the sun rises in the east and it goes southward. Okay, so there's something in that. Selah. Okay, so but Jordan speaks to a descender, and then Aroer, speaks to ruins. And God, speaks to a troop, or and Yazer speaks to helped or helpful. So we see them going by this over a descender into ruins, to a troop that's helpful, and then they come to Gilead, which speaks to a heap of testimony. So that's how they were helpful, because they were testifying to the goodness of Yah and that Yahshua was the Messiah, And it says, and to the land of Tatim Hopshi. Tatim Hopshi speaks to the lowest moon, or some people call it the lowest moon, which is that big moon, the harvest moon. And which makes sense because it's harvest time. Yeah. Amen? Right. And then they come to Dan Ya'an, which speaks to purposeful judgment, and there is a purpose to judgment. And about to Zidon, which speaks to the fishery, and of course, that has connotations of the ecclesia, because they were a fishery, they were fishers of men, right? Okay, now, it says, and they come to the stronghold of Tyre, which is the stronghold of the rock. I just love that, the rock, yeah. Not the guy in the movies either, but Yah the rock. And Hivites, which speaks to villagers, Canaanites, which speaks to merchants, and Yahudah, the praises of Yah, and BYA's band, right? Yeah. And Beersheba, the well of the oath, and so here it is, they made their circuit around, numbering all the people. And so verse 8 says, so when they had gone through all the land, they came to Jerusalem at the end of 9 months and 20 days, And so it took them a long time to number these people. Did it not? Yes. 10 days short of 10 months. Now the time, in the overall scheme of things, this 9 months and 20 days actually speaks to a time of peace, that they came to Jerusalem. Now, and this is like an well, not an oxymoron, but it's kind of like a, in reverse, they get to the city of peace and all Hades break loose. So while the numbering is going on, it was peaceful. Okay, and let me have my next reader read verses 9 through 13.
And Joab gave up the sum of the number of the people unto the king, and there were in Israel 800,000 valiant men that drew the sword, and the men of Yehudah were 500,000 men. And David's heart smote him after that he had numbered the people. And David said unto Yahuwah, I have sinned greatly in that I have done. And now I beseech thee, O Yahuwah, Take away the iniquity of thy servant, for I have done very foolishly. For when David was up in the morning, the word of Yahuwah came unto the prophet God, David's seer, saying, Go and say unto David, Thus saith Yahuwah, I offer thee 3 things. Choose thee one of them, that I may do it unto thee. So God came to David and told him and said unto him, Shall 7 years of famine come unto thee in thy land? Or wilt thou flee 3 months before thine enemies while they pursue thee? Or that there be 3 days pestilence in the land? Now advise and see what answer I shall return to him that sent me.
Okay, so I want you to get the spiritual picture here, because this is how it's going to transpire. Most likely this is how it's going to transpire in the end times, okay? So here it is. We see a picture of David. David, he represents the beloved of Elohim, right? Now, he's the king of Yah's people. So we have a spiritual picture of the king of Yah's people, is going to initiate a census. That's what we would call a numbering of the people nowadays. So I'm using, current terminology here. They're going to initiate a census to number Yah's people. Now, you can totally see this happening, right? You can totally see this happening. Okay, and we know the backdrop to the story, because we know the other aspects of what happens in Revelations with the beast system and all that, right? Okay, so, and we know that, all those that don't take the mark are going to be persecuted, right? Okay, so how are they going to know who takes the mark and who don't take the mark? They're going to have a census,
Right.
So that they know where everyone is and who everyone is. And then, then when they after they take the census and they know who everyone is and where everyone is, and then whoever don't sign up for the mark, then they know who the other ones are.
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So, this is a picture of what's going to transpire in some type of way. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen exactly like that, but generally speaking, there's going to be a census that comes about. And that's what we're being taught here in chapter 24 of 2 Samuel. Okay, the beloved of Elohim, the king over Yah's people, that Satan is provoking, is going to cause a census to be taken of Yah's people. Okay? Now, when that census is taken, we already done learned in Exodus chapter 30 that when that census is taken, because they will not take up the half shekel for the atonement of the people to go to Yah, there will be a plague upon the people. That's what Torah teaches us, right? Okay, so now verse 10 said, and David's heart smote him after he had numbered the people, and David said unto Yahuwah, I have sinned greatly in that I have done. I beseech thee, O Yahuwah, take away the iniquity of thy servant, for I have done foolishly. Yeah, but it's too late. Because so now, in order to take away that iniquity, something's going to have to happen.
Right.
Okay? And that's important to understand, all you followers of Yah, you get free will. That's something that's granted to you. You have that. You get to choose. You get to make your own decisions. Especially everyone over 20 years old, you get to make your own decisions. But you do not normally, in this case he did, but normally you do not get to choose the consequences. Now this is the grace and mercy of Yah, because he gave him a choice of 3 things to choose from as to the consequences of his actions. He said 7 years of famine, which could have destroyed the whole nation in 7 years. We've seen what happened during the time of Joseph, right? Or to flee 3 months before thine enemies. That's a long time to be on the run from your enemies. While they pursue you on top of that. Or there be 3 days pestilence in thy land. Now this word pestilence is interesting. Yes, it means pestilence, and it can speak to sickness or disease. But the essence of the word simply means a word that's spoken. It's basically just a curse that's spoken. It comes from the root dabar, You know, I believe it's number 1696, which just speaks to a spoken word. You know, yeah, you know, not good when Yah speaks against you. That's called a curse. You know, but that's the essence of the word, and I think it's important because, you know, Yah has already spoken some things against Israel who that does what it's not supposed to do, right? Yeah. Okay, so verses 14 and 15 goes on to say, and David said unto God, I am in a great strait. Let us fall now into the hand of Yahuwah. Smart choice. You know, for his mercies are great. Let me not fall into the hand of man. Man is cruel and unjust. So Yahuwah sent the pestilence upon Israel from the morning even to the time appointed. You know, the time appointed, that should ring a bell. That should send a flag up off in somebody's head because, you know, now I neglected to look up that, but it may be more than, you know, which speaks to one of his cocks. But anyway, from the morning to the time appointed, and there died of the people, from Dan even to Beersheba, 70,000 men. Y'all wasn't playing, was it? Nope. Y'all wasn't playing. See, I be trying to tell y'all. See, this is an testament to what I be trying to get across to y'all. When I be telling you, you better stay on top of your square. You better do what you're supposed to do because y'all is heavy-handed. Yes, he is. You know, here it is. He was spanking Israel and he killed 70,000 of them. Now, the number 70 speaks to a nation. That's in scriptural numerics, it represents a nation. So here it is, we see him wiping out a whole nation. The number 1,000 speaks to full maturity. So we're talking about a full mature nation that's getting wiped out. You know, and when we look at Revelations, we begin to see, you know, when we take a look at the account, we see that yes, a whole nation is wiped out and some. It speaks of a lot of people being destroyed in the book of Revelations. Much of the earth, in all actuality. You know, so, you know, this is just a microcosm of what's going to happen. Amen? Okay, so, here it is. It says 70,000 died. You know, there died of the people. Now, well, I have the definition, but I don't have the verse there. So, we're not going to worry about that right now. Remember, we put on the shelf Revelation 6:6. Said, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, right? And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. And we put the oil and the wine up on the shelf, right? You know, now, I want you to know that, you know, when we go to Chronicles concerning the same account, we see something. And, you know, I want you to understand that the oil and the wine represents the 2 priesthoods. You know, you can say it represents the 2 ecclesias that will be accepted of Yah, you know, Philadelphia and Smyrna. You know, hurt not the oil and the wine. The Levitical priesthood and the priesthood of Melchizedek. You know, the Levitical priesthood will represent the oil because they were commanded to take the oil and keep the light lit, keep the menorah lit, right? And the menorah represents what? The churches, right? The candlesticks. Everybody with me? Okay, so they were commanded to do that. Now, the wine, on the other hand, wine comes from grapes. Who's the vine? Yahshua and his ecclesia were the branches that were supposed to bear forth much fruit, right? And so you get wine from the fruit, right? But it has to be trampled. That's how you get the wine, right? You know, same thing with the olives. They have to be trampled in order to get the oil. So they both speak to priesthoods, but it's 2 different priesthoods. One is the Levitical priesthood and the other one is the priesthood in order of Melchizedek. And see, these are the 2 that are not supposed to be hurt. So it says, and see thou hurt not the oil and wine. Okay, so where's the depiction of that, you know, within 2 Samuel 24, within this story, within this setting? You know, if this is a true depiction of the end times, right? You know, and I have you know it is here. You know, it's just in Chronicles, First Chronicles 21:6. And it says, but Levi and Benjamin counted he not among them, for the king's word was abominable to Joab. So can you see that? Levi and Benjamin counted he not among them, for the king's word was abominable to Joab. Levi speaking to the Levitical priesthood, and Benjamin speaking to the priesthood of Melchizedek. Well, why? Because the priesthood, because Benjamin means son of my right hand. Who's at the right hand of the Father? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I can't make this stuff up, y'all. This is more than coincidence. You know, this is more than coincidence. This is the word of Elohim playing out. Yah's word is the same yesterday, today, and forever. It speaks to yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And this is here to let us know that. You know, Levi speaks to the Levitical priesthood. Benjamin speaks to the priesthood in the order of Melchizedek, which the high priest is Yahushua. Right. You know, now, so here it is. We see that there. Verses 6 and 7 of Revelation 6, verses 7 and 8 of Revelation 6 goes on to say, and when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and the beast of the earth. Can you not see the plague that will come upon the earth, that will come upon Yah's people, because of the numbering of his people, without taking the half shekel, without the redemption, without the silver, you know, that atones for them. So you have to be able to see this. If you're going to understand the end times, you have to understand these spiritual pictures that Scripture draws. Now, verse 16 said, and when the angel stretched out his hand upon Jerusalem to destroy it, Yahuwah repented him of the evil and said to the angel that destroyed the people, it is enough. I like that. See, that's God's authority. You know, he said, it's enough. You know, I don't care which angel that was. He had to stop. Stay now thine hand. The angel of Yahuwah was by the threshing place of Araunah, the Jebusite. Okay, so, yeah, my definition is out of place. But Araunah speaks to joyful shouting, singing. A Jebusite. Jebusite speaks of Jebus. Jebus means threshing floor. Okay? So, now here, all this killing, all this death going on, you know, but the angel comes to Araunah. He comes to a guy that's joyfully shouting. That is, he's singing. He rejoicing. All this going on, and yet this cat is rejoicing. See, you have to understand the spiritual picture. See, because Matthew 5:12 says, rejoice, be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. See, you have to understand. See, even though there's going to be some of us that's going to be getting persecuted, but we're going to be like Araunah, and we're going to be rejoicing. We're going to be shouting even in the midst of our persecution, because we're going to know that we're going to be in the ark of Elohim. We're going to be protected by his Ruach HaKodesh. You understand? Even though there's the threshing floor and the wheat are being separated from the shaft, even in the midst of, we still going to be shouting. We still going to be celebrating. We're going to be rejoicing, because we know where we are and whose we are. You know, so this is what's going to be going on, but we're still going to be joyful. Hallelujah. We're going to be like Araunah, the Jebusite. And it says, the angel of Yahuwah was by the threshing place of Araunah, the Jebusite. This is where he stopped. Yeah. See, because he wasn't allowed to hurt the oil and the wine to begin with. Amen? Amen. Okay, now, I want you to get this picture, because it says when the angel stretched out his hand upon Jerusalem to destroy it. So here it is. when it got to Jerusalem, so it was making its way, most likely making its way around the same circuit that they numbered the people. Started from the east and was coming around from the north, from the west, and making its way around through the south, and was getting to Jerusalem. And when it got to Jerusalem, y'all said, okay, that's enough. That's enough. You know, and so here it is. It stopped right at Araunah, the Jebusite. Now, don't think that it's a coincidence that Jebusite speaks to a threshing floor. We're talking about a harvest in the end times. You got to see this. You know, and it stops right at Jerusalem. Luke 21:20 through 24 says, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. See, Jerusalem plays a pivotal part in the end time prophecies. It goes on to say, then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out. Let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. This will be the very same time that the two prophets will be on the earth. One will be over the Levitical priesthood, and one will be over the priesthood in order of Melchizedek. They'll be over the two groups of people that we're talking about right here. And you have to understand that, you know, because wherever they are, that's where you want to be, and it's going to look like they're tearing up the place, and like they're going against Yah's word, but they're actually fulfilling prophecy, and we're to help them. We're not to do like unto them. You know, we're not to tear up nothing. You know, we're to still be covenanted to Yahushua and be wise as serpents, yet gentle as doves. You know, but we're to back them up. We're to help them. You know, and it speaks of many of y'all's people falling, you know, by the edge of the sword. This is what's going to happen. You got to see this picture. This is what's going to take place in the end times. Let me have my next reader read verses 17 through 21, please.
And David spoke to Yahweh when he saw the angel that smote the people, and said, Lo, I have sinned, and I have done wickedly. But these sheep, what have they done? Let thine hand, I pray thee, be against me and against my father's house. And Gad came that day to David and said to him, Go up, rear an altar to Yahweh in the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. And David, according to the saying of Gad, went up as Yahweh commanded. And Araunah looked, and saw the king and his servants coming on toward him. And Araunah went out and bowed himself before the king on his face upon the ground. And Ornan turned back and saw the angel, and his 4 sons with him hid themselves. Now Ornan was threshing wheat. And Araunah said, Wherefore is my lord the king come to his servant? And David said, To buy the threshing floor of thee, to build an altar unto Yahweh, that the plague may be stayed from the people.
Okay, so here it is. Verse 17, it tells us, and David spake unto Yahuwah, and when he saw the angel that smote the people. You know, so the beloved of Elohim was able to see the angel that was smiting the people. And said, Lo, I have sinned, I have done wickedly, but these sheep, these sheep, what have they done? See, the sheep are going to be getting killed. They're going to be slaughtered. You know, for the Messiah was as a sheep, right? He was led to the slaughter, right? Oh, hallelujah. You know, see, because they were being slaughtered, that's why an ark had to be, not an ark, but an altar had to be erected. Hello, somebody. But anyway, here it is. It says he saw the angel that smote the people. These sheep haven't done nothing, Father. Let thine hand, I pray thee, be against me and against my father's house. You know, and it says, Gad came that day to David and said unto him, Go rear an altar unto Yahuwah in the threshing floor of Araunah. You know, the Jebusite. Why? Because he's going to let his hand be against him and his father's house. You know, so it's going to be against him and his father's house, and this is going to be like the like the Church of Philadelphia. This is going to be like those, you know, who can't really be touched, who have the seal of Elohim, you know. Now it's an interesting thing, you know. Araunah, you know, there's different forms to his name. The form that was actually in verse 16 actually could speak to make shine, you know, and that's interesting in and of itself, in that, you know, that the Araunah that's being spoken of, the spiritual picture, they will be lights, they will be shining in this dark place. Matter of fact, when they're gone, so you have to understand, you know, everything is symbolic. You know, much of the stuff is symbolic in the word, and you have to understand, like, you know, it speaks of the day of Yahuwah. Before the day of Yahuwah, it says that the sun will be blackened, you know, and the moon will cease to give forth its light. The moon will be turned to blood. It said the sun will be blackened, it will cease to give forth its light. The moon will be turned to blood, and the stars will fall from the heaven. Amen. See, all that is symbolic. You know, not Joshua, but Joseph's dream taught us the understanding of that. It taught us that the sun spoke to Yaakov, you know, and Malachi teaches us that the Son of Righteousness, which speaks to our Messiah, that comes with healing in his wings. So, you know, here it is. We see the semblance for the sun when it's blackened, because he said the Messiah, which was the Son of Righteousness, he was the light. He is the light. You know, the moon, even as the moon don't have light of its own, it only reflects the light of the sun. So the ecclesia doesn't have light of its own. It only reflects the light of the sun. You know, the moon turning blood speaks to what this picture that we're seeing here, when the righteous will be getting slaughtered. You know, matter of fact, when the righteous will be sacrificed, which is the better term, will be getting sacrificed, you know, and hence the moon turning blood, you know, turning to blood, you know, because the sun represents the Messiah as the Son of Righteousness. The moon represents his bride, you know, even as in Joseph's dream, you know, the sun was Yaakov and the moon was his mother, and the stars was his brethren. It's the same thing. You know, the Messiah represents the Son of Righteousness. The bride of Messiah that represents the moon, that reflects the sun's light, you know, which will be turned to blood because they will be getting slaughtered. Their blood will be running. And the stars represents, you know, the children, you know, that will fall from heaven, you know. So this is a spiritual picture here. I just want you to be able to see, you know, what's being painted for you, because it's a beautiful picture, you know. And here it is. Gad tells David, you know, via the instruction of Yah, to rear an altar unto Yahuwah in the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. Now, again, Araunah, speaking to joyful shouting or singing, you know, here it is. This is where he's supposed to set this altar. You know, he's supposed to rear up this altar. You know, and verse 40, 19 and 20, rather, says, and David, according to the saying of Gad, went up to Yahuwah commanded, as Yahuwah commanded, and Araunah looked and saw the king and his servants come on toward him, and Araunah went out and bowed himself before the king on his face upon the ground. You know, now, we have to go to 1 Chronicles 20 to get another detail. 1 Chronicles 21:20 says, and Ornan turned back and saw the angel and his 4 sons with him hid themselves. Now, Ornan was threshing wheat, you know. Now, this is not no coincidence that Ornan was actually threshing wheat, which speaks to a picture of the wheat harvest in the end times. And remember, we said the wheat represents the children of the kingdom. You know, this is from Yeshua's parable. You know, he taught us that the wheat represents the children of the kingdom. So here it is. We see Ornan separating the children of the kingdom from the tares and the children of the world. You know, so this is a beautiful picture here. Now, it says, I don't have it here, but in 1 Chronicles 21, it also spoke of when they seen all this going on, they hid themselves. Araunah and his 4 sons hid themselves. Oh, it says it right here, yeah. And his 4 sons with him hid themselves. Now, is this not exactly what it says that's going to happen in the end times? It speaks of the woman that gives birth to the children that's killed as soon as they're born, that's caught up to the throne. It says that they will be hidden. It's the same thing. You got to be able to see this. It's the same thing. You know, And so here it is, it speaks of them hiding themselves. You know, and it says, and Araunah, verse 21, Araunah said, wherefore my lord the king come to his servant, and David said, to buy the threshing floor of thee, to build an altar unto Yahuwah, that the plague may be stayed from the people. Now, altars, you know, as you heard me say previously, typify the ecclesia, typifies the priesthood, if you would. You know, see, but you're not, if you're going to make it of stone, you know, you're to make it of unhewn stone. It shouldn't be shaped and formed by man. You know, unhewn stone that has been shaped and formed by Yah. And that's good enough. That's good enough. You know, and you're to stack those stones that were shaped and formed by Yah upon one another. You know, because when you get to shaping and forming it, you know, you mess things up. When man gets to shaping and forming it, he messed things up. Let me put it like that. Let me have my next reader read verses 22 through 25.
And Araunah said to David, let my lord the king take and offer up what seemeth good unto him. Behold, here be oxen for burnt sacrifice, and threshing instruments and other instruments of the oxen for wood. All these things that Araunah as a king give unto the king. And Araunah said unto the king, Yahweh thy Elohim accept thee. And the king said unto Araunah, nay, but I will surely buy it of thee at a price. Neither will I offer burnt offerings unto Yahweh my Elohim of that which doth cost me nothing. So David brought the threshing floor and the oxen for 50 shekels of silver. And David built there an altar unto Yahweh, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. So Yahweh was entreated for the land, and the plague was stayed from Israel.
Hallelujah. Okay, so spiritually speaking, the oxen speaks to strong leaders, you know, and it speaks to the priesthood as well, you know. And so again, we're talking about the priesthood. The symbolism is all here. It says, here be oxen for burnt sacrifice. Where are these oxen coming from? They're coming from Araunah. You know, Araunah is the one that's giving these oxen, that's presenting these oxen. Yes, David has to purchase them. You know, he purchases the oxen for 50 shekels of silver. You know, it says so David brought the threshing floor and the oxen for 50 shekels of silver. But when we look in 1 Chronicles 21, it teaches us that that 600 shekels of gold, you know, was paid for the threshing floor. So the 50 shekels of silver only spoke to the oxen. Okay, now that's what he paid for the oxen, which represents the priesthood, strong leaders. You know, the number 50 speaks to not tabernacles, but jubilee, freedom. You know, and truly, you know, this and silver, of course, speaks to redemption, even as we see that it was silver that was needed to atone for the sins of the people when they were numbered. So here it is, we see the silver still here because it's still needed, you know, for the redemption of the people. You know, and now it says, David built an altar unto Yahuwah and burnt offerings and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. Now this is supposition on my part, but I truly believe that, you know, those that make up Araunah and his sons during that time, you know, that they will be likened unto like the Church of Philadelphia. You know, they will be the ones that's sealed, you know, and like unto Yahushua, they will voluntarily sacrifice their lives in order to save Yah's people. You know, and this is the picture that's being painted here, that Araunah and his sons, they're giving, you know, they want to give David a sacrifice so that he can sacrifice. You know, but he's going to pay him. And he's going to pay us with redemption. You know, those of us who adhere to it, he's going to pay us with redemption. You know, and another thing I want to point out is in verse 23, it says, all these things did Araunah, a king. Now, it says as a king in the King James Version, but this word as is implied. It's not actually in the text. So literally it says, all these things did Araunah, a king, give unto the king. You know, and see, and these who make up this group of people will be kings, because they will rule and reign with Yahushua, who will be the King of Kings. Even as David was a King of Kings, and this is why you see this king given unto the king. You know, and when this king comes, this king bows before him and says, "My Lord," showing that he was the top, that David was the top king. You know, so again, this picture that's being painted, you have to see it, you know, in order to understand what's going to happen in the end times. You know, and I truly believe that, you know, these ones, this 144,000 that will be sealed, that will be untouchable, will voluntarily lay down their lives. Even though the enemy is not allowed to touch them, even as, you know, the enemy was not allowed to touch Yahushua. Like Yahushua say, "Don't no man take my life from me." Don't get it twisted. I lay my life down. And I believe that this group of people will be in like fashion, that they will lay their lives down. And there's a reason why I believe that. It's not just arbitrarily that I believe that. When we look at Revelation 6:9, it says, "And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of Elohim and for the testimony which they held." You know, now that's the same reason that our Messiah was crucified, for the word of Elohim and for the testimony which he held. Amen. You know, and when we look at verses 10 and 11, it says, "And they cried out with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Adonai, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest for a little season until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled." See, and I believe that the be killed as they were is because they're going to be laying down their lives. They're going to be those oxen that Araunah and his sons gave to be sacrificed upon that altar. You know, and that altar that will be built in the end times. You know, and it's a beautiful picture. You know, during the first go around in Exodus 30, when they numbered the people, you know, it was for the tabernacle that was being erected. You know, and here with King David, you know, and they paid a half shekel from everybody, but the payment here was 70,000 souls. 70,000 souls. Even a fully mature nation. And this fully mature nation would be those of Yahushua. You know, and this would be the sacrifice, you know, that will set up the temple. That would be set up for the permanent temple, the temple that's never, ever going to go nowhere. That's made up of you and I, the temple made without hands. Amen. You know, and, you know, I pray I done justice to try to show you what Yah has been showing me. That's all I have for you. You know, this is the end of 24.